So, been a few weeks and even months since last spoke to the camera. Uh, Feels a bit strange now. But, anyways, yeah, as the title of this video suggests, everything is broken, or seems to be broken. I mean, everything is broken. But what I mean by this is that there seems to be a sort of a rapid fire of events, but at the same time, nothing ever happens really. But there seemed to be a rapid fire of events in the last few months. What I mean by that is the Venezuela thing with Trump, then the US planning on invading Greenland, and then the releasing of the Epstein files, which were all redacted basically anyway, so it didn't really matter at all. Now, how do I rationalize this? What do I think about this? And I think, as a general rule of thumb, when something like this happens, I always assume that these things are just meant to distract us in some sort of way. By the way, sorry for the lightning. I'm not really in my room right now, so it's gonna be pretty. Yeah, this will have to do. It's just I literally have my camera on a crate, so yeah. But anyways, it's meant to distract us in some kind of way or to some kind of capacity. And I think it's pretty clear that this is also meant to do that. But not only that, but as always, there's multiple things that they trying to achieve by doing this. And I just think that we should think about this a certain way, or we should ask certain questions. If we see it, why are we seeing it? And if we put our energy into discussing it and just obsessing over it, what else can we miss? And what I think that we could miss is that the fact that the European Union, there have been talks of European Union federalizing into, well, a federation, but they need to somehow flare up the nationalism, the pro-Europeanism or pro-unionism amongst the people in the European Union. And how could they do it? Well, I think that it's pretty, straightforward to, well, because there hasn't been much of a pro-Europeanism or pro-unionism amongst people when Russia invaded Ukraine, because many people started to support Russia, which is also wrong, as I specified in my last video, but for the sake of this, what we're talking about right now, it's also wrong. So, but it didn't have the effect that they would like, the European Union would like. European Union would like to see people supporting more, and people do not support European Union. Why do they not support them? Well, because there is this issue of complete cultural erasure of natives and immigration and worsening economic conditions. So people really have reasons to be skeptical, and Russia invading Ukraine didn't have the effect that they would like. So now many people started viewing Russia as good. But what could possibly maybe bring these people together, pro-Ukraine and pro-Russia people? Well, if the United States started threatening Europe, then maybe people could set aside their differences and start trusting Europe more. And maybe the US will take Greenland. I have no idea if that's gonna happen or not. So I'm not here saying that it's a complete nothing burger. I mean, they might try to do it, but what I'm trying to say is that those scenarios are already predetermined. Like, whatever is gonna happen, there are people that will tell to both European Union and members and both cabinet, Trump's cabinet, how this thing is gonna go. So it's just a script, it's a theater, that's all I'm saying it is. And I have no idea how it is gonna turn out. I mean, it just makes sense that US would try to invade Greenland so European Union can rally together and repel the invader. And now people that loved Russia would be more of a, would be vindicated sort of. But they would come together with people that love European Union and that loved Ukraine and that loved the US because they don't love the US anymore, because US essentially effectively dissolved NATO. And there is this narrative about Trump is this dictator, so it's just more the reason why people in Europe would have to rally around each other, and finally both anti-European people or anti-union people and pro-union people could come together, and the European Union could finally federalize, and we can finally have one European army. This is also what they've been trying to do, and I've been hearing talks about this for the past few years, that Europe would like to have its own European army, which is a terrible idea, but that Europe would like to have its European army. European Union would like to have its European army. I'm sorry for using this interchangeably. There really are not. So this just fits the bill. I just have to say it would just really achieve all of these goals that they had, and it just fits the bill. I mean, it's hard not to notice how this exactly would, or what would be the result of this. European army, European Union, federalizing, Europe being this whole one nation state sort of. And so they would have even more control over even the last tiny bits of sovereignty that is left amongst the nations of the European Union. I know that there's really almost no sovereignty left, but tiny little bit is still left, and they would essentially get rid of that too. And so, it just would make sense to me. So hopefully I've been clear enough. Again, as usual, this is done on impulse, basically, and I have no notes. But another thing I wanted to talk about very quickly were the Epstein files. Now, again, this before that, Maduro and Trump, honestly, I'm just gonna say I don't really know why that was done exactly. I have a few theories. One theory would be that to make Trump look sort of strong, like this strong man, this competent strong man, because people, the Americans, and even MAGA people started losing faith in Trump. So it would just again make sense that look, Trump is this strong nationalist leader. He sees the drug lord Maduro, and then he took the oil to the US, and he's not gonna give it back, and he's maybe gonna sell it or whatever. There's also the fact that Maduro was not a very pro-Israeli president, so you just can't see the coincidences, and you just can't stop thinking about them. At least that's what is like with me. And last thing I wanted to talk about is the Epstein files, and they released them, basically redacted completely. I think that they're just taking a piss right now. I think that they're just mocking all of us right now, because everybody knows. Like, this is the thing. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that every single politician in the top politics is entangled in these things. And so by just releasing them and redacting a loads of things is just it's just, yeah, my autofocus is now doing its own thing. It would be just the best way to basically to fuck with us. So it's it's so yeah, I think they're just taking the piss. And what I think is gonna happen with this is that I think that they are now strategically waiting, and because they have dirt on everyone, and so what they're doing right now is that they're waiting, and when the time comes, and they're maybe even gathering, of course, they're gathering intelligence and they're gathering information about who the people like, who they don't like, and who they want to see in which place and stuff like that. But what I think they're gonna do is that they're gonna use these files, the Epstein files, to legitimize the puppets that they want in basically whichever country, but mostly in the US. They're gonna legitimize whichever puppets by not including them in there. And if they need to throw someone under the bus, they're gonna do it. So they're gonna unredact. I don't actually know the word for that, but they're gonna make clear those files where they are incriminating against some politicians, whilst they will try to bury the ones. What is this autofocus doing, man? Oh man. Hello. Yeah. They would try to so they would release the ones that would incriminate some chosen politicians that they need to throw under the bus. So the whole system gains legitimacy. The whole Epstein debacle won't rest over their head anymore, because they threw some politicians under the bus. They will get jailed, imprisoned, whatever. And the ones that weren't mentioned in the Epstein files, then that must mean that those are clean and they are not entangled in that. So for people, they will see, oh, now we have finally president, whoever, who is not a PDF file. So just as an example, maybe they will see that Trump has outlived his usefulness. They would decide to, let's unredact this or publish this, make it public. Look, Trump is a kiddie fiddler, right? And so Trump will go to jail, and then a new president, maybe J.D. Vance, who would be the president then, he will be all clean because he's not in the files, so look, he's legitimate. Something along these lines. So I think, if anything, it would be used to legitimize puppets and just throw someone under a bus and make people more calmer. I think that's all that's gonna be, because who would release those files? I mean, honestly. And there's a thing that people say, and that's that, if Trump was in there, Democrats would have released it. No, because Democrats really do not have any authority over that. That's the first thing. Neither does Trump. People need to realize this. Battery died. So yeah, being a politician, being a senator, being a president, they're just actors. That's all there are. They really have no thoughts of their own. They have no agenda of their own or agency of their own. They really are just doing what they're told. So Democrats had no authority over releasing those files. That's first point. And the second one, do you think that Democrats are not in them? Because when you say that, well, Democrats never released them because Trump is not there, you are implying that Democrats did not release them because Democrats are there then, and Trump is not. But how can you say that if Trump were there, that they would release them? They're still in there themselves, so they would never release it, even if Trump was there. So it just makes no sense. Democrats, they're all in there. Okay, just to clarify this, just to make it clear, they're all in there. and they have no authority. No single person or even Congress or whoever has the authority. The commands are coming from higher up, and that's not the president of the United States. So Epstein files were released deliberately right now, and they were also deliberately redacted. Of course, the justifications, because like it's an ongoing investigations to protect identities, whatever, yada yada yada. What I think they're gonna be used for is legitimizing their new puppets, new politicians, new presidents, new congressmen, whoever, and throwing some old ones under the bus. So hopefully people will say, okay, we've had enough, justice had been served, and that's that. But just the fact that something like this happened and many European politicians were involved in that too. Many of them, most of them, if not all of them. Just something like this happened even is, I think, a perfect and clear example and message from the system itself that, well, none of these things, voting, none of that matters. Democratic process, Congress, politicians, opposition, coalition, whatever, none of that matters. They're all kiddie fiddlers. It's I think the message received. Of course, there are some of us that knew this since I don't know in when. I woke up 5 years ago to these things, but many people were very much aware about what's going on decades prior, and so some of us knew. But if by any chance you're watching this and you still thought that any kinds of engaging in politics and whatever really has the ability to do something, that you can change something through politics, no, this is the clear message. They're all fiddling kids. So yeah, they're not legitimate, and you can decide when you're voting between one fiddler and the second fiddler. That's all there is. Anyways, this video is long enough, so I will try to be more consistent with videos now, because I finally have some free times, and we'll see when the next one will be uploaded. Hopefully in the next week or so. So stay unsubverted, and I will see you in the next one.